The air in the private hospital room was so thick with tension it felt hard to breathe. The only sound was the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor hooked up to my sister, Chloe. She lay in the bed, looking pale but still managing to scroll through her phone with a bored expression. My father, Marcus, stood over me, his face turning a shade of red eye associated with his worst rages. He slammed his fist onto the plastic tray table, making the water pitcher rattle dangerously. "You will do this, Liam," he spat, his voice low and venomous. "We are not asking you. We are telling you. Your sister is dying. You have 2 kidneys. You only need 1 to survive. It is simple math." I sat in the uncomfortable visitor chair, shrinking back. "Dad, it's major surgery," I stammered, my hands sweating. "I need time to think." "There is nothing to think about." My mother, Elena, shrieked from the corner. She marched over and grabbed my shoulders, her fingernails digging into my skin. "If you do not test for a match by Monday, you are dead to this family. We will throw your clothes on the street. We will change the locks. Do you hear me?" Chloe didn't even look up from her screen. "Just do it, Liam," she muttered. "Don't be such a drama queen." I escaped the hospital room an hour later, feeling like I had just gone 12 rounds in a boxing ring. I drove back to the small, damp basement apartment in their house that they allowed me to rent from them. I collapsed onto my mattress, hoping for sleep, but my phone started vibrating. It didn't stop. Notification after notification lit up the dark room. I picked it up and felt my stomach drop. Elena had posted a photo of Chloe on Facebook. It was heavily edited to make her look frail and angelic, with a caption that made me want to vomit. "Please pray for my baby Chloe. Her kidneys are failing, and her only brother, Liam, is refusing to save her life. I have never felt such betrayal. We raised him, fed him, and this is how he repays us. He is letting his sister die." The comments were vile. Relatives I hadn't seen in 10 years were calling me a monster. My boss had even sent a text asking if everything was okay at home, because someone had left a 1-star review on our company page calling me a sister killer. They weren't just pressuring me, they were destroying my reputation to force my hand. The next morning, I tried to sneak out to get coffee, but I walked right into an ambush. They were waiting for me in the living room. It wasn't just Marcus and Elena this time. They had called Father Michael, the family priest, and my Aunt Sarah. It was a staged intervention, but not for an addiction. It was an intervention for my bodily autonomy. "Liam, son," Father Michael said, his voice dripping with practiced solemnity. "God gave you a match for a reason. To deny your sister this gift is a sin against nature. It is a sin against the family." He placed a heavy hand on my knee. Marcus sneered from the doorway, crossing his arms. "You have always been the selfish one, Liam. We put a roof over your head. We bought you clothes. You owe us. This is the rent coming due." The guilt in the room was heavy, manufactured, and suffocating. I looked at their faces, angry, expectant, entitled. I realized I had no way out. If I said no, I lost everything. "Fine," I whispered, looking at the floor. "I'll get the screening." Chloe smirked from the couch, sipping a smoothie. Finally, 2 days later, I sat in the sterile waiting room of the transplant center. My leg was bouncing up and down nervously. I filled out form after form, signing away my rights to medical privacy so my parents could see the results. They insisted on it. The nurse who called my name was a kind woman named Sarah with graying hair and a soft smile. She led me to a back room and began preparing the needles. "You're doing a brave thing, honey," she said, tying the rubber tourniquet around my arm. "Most people take months to decide to donate. You're moving very fast." "My parents didn't really give me a choice," I muttered, flinching as the needle went in. Sarah paused. She looked at the fresh bruising on my upper arm where Marcus had grabbed me too hard the day before. She didn't say anything, but her eyes narrowed slightly. She finished drawing the blood, labeled the vials, and then made a specific note on my file. "We're going to run the full HLA panel," she said softly, almost to herself. "It tests for tissue compatibility. It's very precise. It tells us everything." 3 days passed. The silence from the hospital was agonizing. Marcus and Elena were treating me like a prince, cooking my favorite meals, but it felt fake. It felt like they were fattening a pig for slaughter. Then, on Thursday afternoon, my phone rang. It wasn't an automated result. It was the head of the transplant department, Drive. "Aris, Liam, can you come in?" he asked. His voice sounded serious. "I need to speak with you in person. Come alone. Do not bring your parents." My heart started racing. Had they found something wrong with me? Was I sick? I drove to the hospital in a daze. When I arrived at Drive Aris's office, he closed the door and locked it. He motioned for me to sit. He looked uncomfortable, shuffling papers on his desk. "We ran the HLA typing to check for compatibility with Chloe," he started, adjusting his glasses. "You aren't a match. But that's not the primary issue right now. The antigen markers. Liam, biologically, it is impossible for Marcus and Elena to be your parents. You share 0 genetic markers with them." The room spun. I gripped the armrests of the chair to keep from falling off. "That's impossible," I said, my voice trembling. "I have my birth certificate. I have their last name. I have pictures of us when I was a baby." "Doctor." Aris turned his computer monitor so I could see the charts. They looked like complex bar graphs, but the conclusion was simple. "Biology doesn't lie, Liam. You aren't related to Chloe, and you aren't related to Marcus or Elena. You are a genetic stranger to this family." The realization hit me like a freight train. The abuse. The way Chloe was given everything while I wore hand-me-downs. The way they treated me like an employee rather than a son. It suddenly made sense. I wasn't the black sheep of the family. I was the wolf they had trapped and tamed. I sat there for a long time, processing the lie that was my entire life. "They stole me," I whispered. "Or they lied to me." "Does Chloe need a kidney?" I asked, my voice suddenly cold and steady. The shock was fading, replaced by a sharp, icy clarity. "Doctor." Aris nodded. "Yes, she is in renal failure. But not yours. You couldn't donate even if you wanted to. Your immune system would destroy hers immediately. It would kill her." "Don't tell them," I said, looking Drive Aris in the eye. "Not yet. Please. I need time." He hesitated, citing protocol, but I leaned forward. "They are abusive. You saw the bruise on my arm. If they find out I don't know what they will do." "Doctor." Aris sighed and nodded slowly. "I can hold the official report for 48 hours. I will say we are running confirmatory tests. But after that, I have to release the results to the file." I walked out of the hospital with a secret that could burn their entire world down. I wasn't just going to walk away. I was going to find out who I was and what they had done to me. I needed answers, and I knew exactly where to find them. Marcus was a creature of habit and paranoia. He kept a heavy floor safe in the back of his walk-in closet. He thought he was the only one who knew the combination, but I had seen him open it years ago when I was a kid hiding during a game of hide-and-seek. The combination was Chloe's birthday. Of course it was. I waited until they left to visit Chloe at the hospital. I drove back to the house, my heart hammering against my ribs. I ran up the stairs to their bedroom. I threw open the closet door and pulled back the rug. There it was. I spun the dial, right to 04, left to 12, right to 99. Click, the handle turned. I pulled the heavy door open. Inside were stacks of cash, jewelry, and deeds. But right on top was a thick, leather-bound binder. I opened it. It wasn't adoption papers. It was a custody agreement, from a lawyer named Vance and Associates. I sat on the floor of the closet, flipping through the documents. They were dated 25 years ago. My hands shook as I read the names. My biological mother wasn't a stranger. Her name was Julianne. The documents revealed she was Elena's college roommate. She was wealthy, coming from old money. The papers detailed a tragic car accident that had taken her life when I was just an infant. Marcus and Elena hadn't adopted me out of the goodness of their hearts. They had petitioned for guardianship. They had fought Julianne's distant relatives for custody, claiming they were her chosen family. Then I turned the page and saw the financial statements. There was a bank account attached to the guardianship, the Liam Sterling Trust. I looked at the balance sheet from 1999. The starting balance was $2.5 million. I flipped to the most recent statement from 2024. The balance was $450. I sat there, staring at the number, feeling a rage so hot it almost blinded me. They hadn't taken me in because they loved me. They took me in to access the trust fund my mother left for my care. They had drained it, every penny. Suddenly, everything clicked. The kitchen renovation 2 years ago. My money. Chloe's private school tuition. My money. The luxury cars in the driveway. My money. The vacations to Italy and France that I wasn't invited to. My money. I wasn't a burden to them, as they had always claimed. I was their financier. I was the golden goose, and they had spent 25 years plucking my feathers while treating me like a parasite. They had stolen my future, my education, and my life, all while making me feel grateful for the scraps they threw me. I heard a car door slam outside. They were home early. Panic surged through me. I quickly snapped photos of every single page in the binder with my phone. I shoved the papers back into the safe, locked it, threw the rug over it, and sprinted to my room in the basement. I made it just as the front door opened. I sat on my bed, trying to slow my breathing. Elena came down the stairs a moment later, looking at me with disdain. "Well," she barked, "did the doctor call you?" I looked her dead in the eye. I forced a smile. "Yes, I lied." He said the initial results look promising. "I'm a high match." Elena's face lit up, not with love, or relief that her daughter would survive, but with greed. She clapped her hands together. "Good, we scheduled the surgery for next week. You finally did something right." The next morning, I called out sick from work. I took the photos of the documents to a forensic accountant and a lawyer recommended by my one trusted friend. We met in a small coffee shop far away from my neighborhood. The lawyer, a sharp woman named Ms. Holloway, looked over the images on my iPad. Her eyes widened as she scrolled. "This is embezzlement," she said, her voice low. "Massive, systematic fraud. If we can prove they spent the money on themselves and not your direct care, they go to prison. For a long time. We need the bank records," the accountant added. "We need to trace the transfers." I nodded. "I can get them, but I need time. The surgery is scheduled for 5 days from now." The clock was ticking. I was walking a tightrope. If I fell, they would take my kidney and leave me with nothing. Marcus was in high spirits. He announced a Gala for Life fundraiser to be held at the house in 2 days. He claimed on Facebook that our insurance wasn't covering the full cost of the transplant, a lie, and that they needed to raise $100,000 for Chloe's post-op recovery and specialized care. He was using my donation as the centerpiece to grift more money from their wealthy friends and business partners. "You'll be the guest of honor, Liam," Marcus said, clapping me on the shoulder with a heavy hand. "The hero brother. Everyone wants to meet the boy who is saving our dear Chloe." It was sickening. He was selling tickets to my mutilation. He was parading me around like a prize pony while planning to discard me the moment he got what he wanted. I needed a confession. I needed to hear them say it out loud. I set my phone to record and left it hidden behind a stack of books on the kitchen counter while they were having coffee. I went into the bathroom and turned the shower on to make it look like I was occupied. I crept back to the door and listened. They were laughing. "Once he gives the kidney, we kick him out," Chloe laughed. "He's so annoying. I don't want him around when I'm recovering," Marcus replied, his voice clear. We need him to sign the release on the house deed first. The trust put the deed in his name technically, but he doesn't know that. We get the kidney, we get the signature, then he's gone. We can sell the place and downsize to a condo in Florida. I walked back into the kitchen 10 minutes later, picking up my phone and stopping the recording. My heart was pounding, but my face was calm. I'm ready to sign the surgery papers, I said. Elena handed me a stack of documents she had brought from the hospital. Buried in the middle of the medical consent forms was a document that didn't belong, a quitclaim deed. It transferred ownership of the house, which I apparently owned legally through the trust, to Marcus and Elena. They thought I was stupid. They thought I wouldn't read it. I signed the surgery consent forms, knowing I would revoke them privately with Dr. Aris, but, accidentally, spilled my large mug of coffee all over the deed. Oops, I said, feigning clumsiness. I'm so clumsy. I'll sign a fresh one at the gala. In front of everyone. It'll be a nice gesture, right? The day of the gala arrived. I had one final preparation to make. I called Drive. Aris, you need to come to the party tonight, I told him. My parents are telling everyone I'm a match. They're raising money on a lie. I need you there to explain the procedure to the donors. He was hesitant. Liam, I can't discuss patient details socially. You won't have to, I said. Just be there, please, for the truth. He agreed. I also invited Ms. Holloway and 2 plainclothes officers she had arranged to bring along. I introduced them as friends from college when they arrived. The stage was set. The house, my house, was decorated with white lilies and expensive catering. The gala was packed. There were at least 50 people in the living room and spilling out onto the patio. They were drinking champagne bought with the last dregs of my inheritance. Elena was wearing a sequined dress that cost more than my car. Everyone came up to me, patting my back, shaking my hand. Such a sacrifice, they said. You're a good brother. God bless you. I smiled until my face hurt. I accepted their praise, knowing it would turn to shock in less than an hour. Ideally, the truth comes out tonight, I whispered to myself, spotting Marcus near the fireplace. He was holding court, laughing, playing the role of the benevolent patriarch. He had no idea the floor was about to drop out from under him. At 8 p.m., Marcus tapped his glass with a silver spoon. The room went quiet. Quiet, everyone. Attention please. He bellowed, beaming. He put his arm around Elena, and Chloe sat in a wheelchair next to them, looking tragic and brave. I want to propose a toast to my son, Liam, Marcus said. He is giving the ultimate gift to his sister. It shows that blood is thicker than water. It shows that family is everything. The crowd cheered and applauded. Chloe beamed, soaking up the attention. Liam, come up here. Marcus beckoned, waving me over. Come stand with your family. I took a deep breath. I walked up to the makeshift stage in front of the fireplace. I took the microphone from him. My hands weren't shaking anymore. 19. Thank you, Dad, I said, my voice amplified through the speakers. Blood is indeed thicker than water, which makes what I have to tell you very difficult. I signaled the AV guy, a teenager from the neighborhood who I had tipped $200 earlier, to switch the slide on the projector screen behind me. He gave me a thumbs up. The screen changed. The photo of Chloe and me as kids vanished. In its place, a massive, high-resolution PDF of the DNA test results appeared. The words, 0% probability of relations, were highlighted in bright yellow. This is the HLA report from Dr. Aris, I said, pointing to the doctor who was standing near the back, looking stunned. As you can see, I am a 0% match for Chloe. Which is strange, for a full brother. The room went silent. The clinking of glasses stopped. Marcus froze, his smile twitching. But even stranger, I continued, my voice hardening, is that I am a 0% match for Marcus and Elena. I am not your son. I looked at the crowd. I was never their son. I was their investment. I clicked the clicker in my hand. The next slide appeared. It was the financial ledger from 1999 versus 2024. He's lying. He's in shock. Elena screamed, rushing toward the stage. Turn it off. Turn it off. She clawed at the projector, knocking it askew, but the image remained on the wall. Sit down, Elena, I shouted into the mic, my voice booming. The authority in my tone stopped her cold. I'm not done. My name is Liam Sterling, I announced. And these people aren't my parents. They are my wardens. My mother left me a trust fund of $2.5 million when she died. These two obtained guardianship to access it, and as you can see from the bank records behind me, they stole it all. Those cars outside, I pointed to the driveway, bought with my trust. This house we are standing in, it's legally mine. The deed is in my name, held in the trust. I looked at Marcus, who was pale, sweating, and looking for an exit. And that kidney, I can't give it, not because I'm selfish, but because biological strangers aren't compatible. They knew I wasn't a match. They just wanted to kill me off on the operating table so they could keep the house. The crowd was murmuring, a low roar of shock and outrage. Phones were out, recording everything. Chloe looked like she was going to faint, her face draining of color as she realized her safety net was gone. Marcus lunged at me. You ungrateful little brat, he roared, his fist raised. Ms. Holloway stepped in, flanked by the two police officers. They moved fast. One officer grabbed Marcus's arm and twisted it behind his back. Mr. Vance, you're under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and child endangerment, the officer said. The click of the handcuffs echoed in the silent room. Marcus was handcuffed in front of his boss, his neighbors, and his friends. Elena started wailing, trying to run out the back door, but the second officer caught her before she reached the kitchen. Chloe sat on the stage in her wheelchair, weeping. She wasn't looking at her parents being dragged away. She was looking at me. But, my kidney, she sobbed, mascara running down her face. Who's going to save me? I'm dying. I looked down at her. For years, she had bullied me. She had stolen from me. She had treated me like dirt because she thought she was the princess and I was the servant. You have parents, I said coldly. Ask them to get tested. Oh wait, they're going to jail. I dropped the microphone on the stage floor. The feedback screeched, a piercing noise that signaled the end of their charade. I walked out of the house as the police led Marcus and Elena into the squad cars. The flashing blue lights illuminated the neighborhood. I didn't look back. The next morning, Ms. Holloway started the eviction process for Chloe. I wasn't heartless. I gave her 30 days. She could live in the house, if she paid rent. She moved out within the week to stay with a friend. I sat in the empty living room, the silence beautiful and profound. I was alone, but for the first time in my life, I wasn't lonely. I was free. I had my identity back. I had my house. And thanks to Ms. Holloway's quick work seizing their remaining assets, I was going to get a lot of my money back. I was rich, but more importantly, I was my own man.